You can sing this next song about anything at all.
Welcome, any and all, to the Wednesday edition of Dreaming in Paradox. I'm your host, John Olson.
And I'm your host, Jose Benutolo.
And joining us once more is Caroline Mariko. Wednesday is our guest topic day.
Yes.
So, you want to take it away?
Take us on a journey.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about women in film.
Women in film.
All right.
Because that's something I see on my Facebook wall a lot.
Mine
these
too,
days.
actually.
Oh, yours too?
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with some women in film.
Oh, really?
And so,
You
yeah,
have
it pops
women
up.
friends in film?
What? What? Unbelievable.
When did this happen?
So yeah, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, what's...
So if you were to produce a film and then you had a female applying for a role such as cinematographer or gaffer or anything actually, really, would you consider, like, would it be a criteria for you to hire a person, or you don't really look at it, you look at the experience and...
Mostly when it comes to, like, it's a little different for different positions.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly when it comes to, like, I'll start with cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
I like to pick people that I just have a decent rapport with.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's more that I can communicate easily with. I know several very talented female cinematographers. Our first week on the show, we had helping us out behind the camera our friend Jeanette Sears.
That's correct.
She's a very talented cinematographer who I'd be happy to use. And she's also got, I know some people through her also, that some very, very talented, capable people. I don't think that, like, it's definitely not a job where being a man gives you a leg up. Like, it doesn't make you automatic. Like, there's nothing, you know, how well you perceive light, like, has nothing to do with gender, really. So I tend to go on, you know, just like kind of how well I get along with a person. It starts with, a lot of times it starts with availability, honestly. Because I kind of tend to select cinematographer from a pool of people that I know already. I've never had to audition a cinematographer. And then beyond that, a lot of it just comes from people I've met on set along the way. So, like, I've only ever worked with female makeup artists. It's a very common one. Another common one is assistant director. If we're just getting down to, like, the difference between men and women, I think that women do tend to make good assistant directors, because a lot of times I find women are very just good at staying organized. And so I think it's kind of why there's been a lot of, like, natural drift to it. Director's a tough one because, like, it's very competitive. And so is cinematography. And I feel like the cinematographers are kind of naturally competitive. The ones that are really into it. They know their stuff and they take pride in that. Directing is such a nebulous thing. And I think that when hiring a director, you really have to take the material into consideration. Which goes for, like, male, female, black, white, any of that. Like, if you're, you know, if you're making 12 Years a Slave, you know, having a white man direct that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know? Like, if they do a good job, you know, maybe they're good at analyzing and self-criticizing, but, like, you want someone who can empathize with the material, I think. I guess I want to bring it up. It's going to be a little out of date by the time this comes out, just because of the nature of how fast news comes up. But this whole like Matt Damon thing has come up recently. So I guess on Project Greenlight, some African American female director put up being female as like a credential, and he shot it down. Like, no, we look at color in terms of like casting specifics, but behind the camera, he wanted to say that it doesn't matter. And I think that in directing in particular, it does matter. Because I think as a director, you bring your personal experience, you bring your empathy to the situation. And so if you can empathize with the material better because you're a woman or because of your nationality, I think you can throw that in as an asset. And that it really does.
But there are like, let's talk about Miyazaki has, all his main characters are female. That movie,
It's true.
Blue is the Warmest Color, is a lesbian movie, but it was directed by a straight man. It's like,
It got a little flack, that movie.
Sorry?
It got some,
Yeah.
you know,
But for
there was some
other
there was
reasons.
some blowback on
Yeah.
Blue's Warms. I didn't see it, so I can't directly comment on it, but I saw when it was going out that there was some controversy surrounding it, and that like the actors were saying they were kind of uncomfortable, and like that's a difference that can happen. So like if a woman is directing that, it might make the actors more comfortable doing like, apparently there's a lot of sex scenes in it, like doing that on display for a man might be more awkward.
Well, I mean,
right? I don't know.
I don't know. My opinion on that movie is that, like, I'm the audience in that case, and I thought it was a great movie.
Okay.
And I know it was all the things that happened on set and with the actresses and everything was apparently pretty horrible. But you know, it's about making art, and also like sometimes you have to suffer for it, and hopefully you don't have to. But I think the result was great, and then I really like.
Yeah, I think that you can direct something outside of your direct knowledge. I mean, clearly movies a lot of times go beyond anybody's ability to directly relate to. But I think it can be an asset. It can be an asset both in terms of like making sure that the script relates to people correctly. I don't know who wrote that movie either, do you know?
Oh, it was based on a comic.
Okay.
Bande dessinée, we say, what is this comic in English?
Yeah, graphic novel
Graphic
maybe.
novel, yeah. So it was a girl who wrote, and probably a girl also who drew it, I think, or the same person. So what do you think? Would you, if you were hiring a crew, would you like, does the gender for you matter? Or
well, in my
like honest answer.
In my professional experience, it had never mattered. It is, you come aware of it. I've worked already with 2 female DPs. I've worked with several female producers. I find that I find more common women to be into producing, but I have the opportunity to work with 2 female DPs actually, and it's interesting because you mentioned like makeup artists. I've never worked with a makeup artist that hasn't been female.
Yeah.
Like and that
I just
and I
haven't
think
seen it.
and I think that is as a relevant question to ask that is like why is there not male like makeup artists?
I mean,
what is
we
the
live in a society where
But,
women wear makeup more frequently.
No, I know, but you know, like what I mean is that once like it's the same thing that when you go and say it is more relevant for a filmmaker. Like say for example you have a film that deals with lesbians, and then you say like, oh, it was directed by a man. If it was a film about space, you know, you're not expecting the director to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's what I meant. Like
feel,
sometimes.
Yeah, I feel sometimes people like to make it an issue when it doesn't need to be an issue. And I feel that in many things in life, it is understandable that these things need to balance, but I feel that things will stop being an issue once we stop seeing them as an issue. The fact that a woman directs or doesn't, it shouldn't be a relevant issue, even when sadly it is still.
I think the reason it's relevant is because it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
the fact is, there are a lot of women trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was the kind of thing where, like, there isn't a lot of people trying to break in, maybe it doesn't matter so much, but there are. And so I think it has to be in consideration because of context. Like, I like the phrase I found myself using on the show a lot, but like, movies aren't made in a vacuum. They're made for a modern audience.
Mm-hmm.
And a modern audience will look at things like that.
Yes.
You know? I feel like women want to feel empowered. And if you go to see a popular movie that's been directed by a woman, it's empowering. You know, seeing Catherine Bigelow accept an Oscar for Best Director, some kid might watch it, some little girl might watch it and go, oh, that could be me.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yes.
And you've had this sort of tyrannical industry. And, you know, as the world changes, like, the industry has to change with it, I think. The world's becoming more and more open, like, more voices are getting out there, and they're saying that they want diversity. And yeah, I just feel like you have to listen to that. When you talk about like a movie like Space isn't, like, a movie about astronauts doesn't intrinsically involve race or gender.
Mm-hmm.
And like, movies kind of don't reflect that, actually. It tends to be white guys going into space. And it doesn't have to be, you know? And at some point you want to add diversity just for the sake of showing people that they can. If you want women to be astronauts, show them women astronauts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want, you know, you have to kind of project the change that you want in the world.
It's a statement.
It's a statement. Every film is a statement. It's an artist's personal statement.
Yeah, well, I would say for space movies, for example, I think, unfortunately, like big buster movies, they have they use diversity for just because they want the audience to come and watch it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The motive
So
might
that's,
be not always as altruistic as you want, but I think it's a kind of a case where, like, even if their motive is just to get more viewers, like, I think the end effect is still positive.
It serves a purpose.
You know,
Star Trek.
Star
Pioneer on
Trek's-
that. Pioneer on that.
yeah.
And it was actually their intention. Like if you see documentaries about Star Trek, their idea was to show that in the future, gender and race was not an issue anymore in the planet, and that's why they made it.
And you push it as far as you
completely different.
can. Like, for example, I read once that Roddenberry wanted to have like a gay character in one of his episodes, and decided, and like was shut down, and decided not to, because if that caused like the show to get shut down or for nobody to see it, then none of the positive message gets through. So sometimes it's baby steps.
Yes.
You know, you have to like work your way there.
Yeah, you can force the change that way.
And I feel like in America it's particularly important. You know, it's such a melting pot. You know, we are a mixed society. Certain local areas don't feel that way as much. Like if you live in a small town and everybody's more or less the same, you don't think about it being as important. We live in New York City, which is like one of the most diverse cities in the world. And it is important to people in New York City that they see diversity, that they see themselves represented,
Mm-hmm.
you know? because like the message has been for many, many years, I think, that, you know, if you're a white guy, you can do anything. The sky's the limit. And it's not that way for everybody. And like we live in the land of opportunity, it should be for everybody, I think. So like there is a point in throwing diversity into a space movie. You know? There is a, because it's like everybody should be able to go into space. Anybody who's healthy enough and smart enough to make the trip should be able to like see themselves doing it.
Yeah.
Because like media really does affect people. And I just feel like a lot of media is done very irresponsibly. They don't take it into consideration. And I should, both in front and behind the camera. Like, you know, you might have a really talented DP, maybe someone even more experienced who's been doing it longer, and like you might want to pick like a less experienced female DP just to give her a chance, just because it's not being done enough. Like I think that when it comes to something you're putting out there, like, because until there's a balance, you know, like everybody we want to work on the merit system, but we work on the privilege system. Like what your individual like privilege is, this is what we kind of go back to Mondays, where like I didn't really see it as a viable opportunity because I thought it was purely based around privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had the opportunity to get a student loan to go to film school to do it. Someone else in a different demographic might not get that same loan, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes a difference, and I just think that those who have privilege need to consider it. Like as a white male, I think it is important for me to consider having a more diverse array of people that I work with.
Yeah, but because it's not because of a gender or ethnicity, but because everybody is capable
Exactly.
to do things, and it's great to give a chance to people who had so far didn't have so much chance, but I think we were diverging a little bit from the question.
Yeah. Sorry, we started to broaden out a little.
No,
It happens a lot in this show. It does happen a lot in this show.
Yeah.
But you know, like it's
No, because I'm asking this because I from
Do you
my
feel differently?
experience is that I'm either hired by friends, like you say,
Yeah.
because they know me and they know what I did, and they know what I can do,
Yeah.
or they like it.
You build up
hopefully.
a rapport, right?
Yeah, or by female producers, or that's it. Like if I don't know a male producer, I so far, let me think, like double check, but I've never been hired by a male producer
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't know me.
Okay.
And I think it's really sad, and I wonder if it's because they see in my resume, oh, she's a girl, she can't do that job.
It could be. I mean, it could.
Or maybe
like,
they didn't like my work, and
Yeah.
that's why. But
It's
I
hard
don't
to know,
It's
right?
hard to know.
Exactly.
But like, it's. I hope that it's not because of the gender, and because I'm capable to do the job, you know.
Yeah. I think a lot of why I have the view that I have on it is that I have seen a lot of misogyny in the industry. A lot of times it's very casual, but it's there. And like my natural reaction is like, oh, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to make my decisions. You know, like, you know, you see these, my girlfriend Brianna is an actress. She'll show me these posts for castings.
Oh,
And they're
God.
so sexist.
Oh yeah.
There was one she showed me a couple days ago. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. It was, they need a woman. She's going to be a green screen suit except for breasts. And they need to be medium to large breasts with small, perky nipples. That was the casting call. Literally, we're casting a pair of boobs. Like, are you kidding me?
They can do it in.
Like they could
yeah,
just make a prosthetic or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be like
They are looking for.
Like, that's degrading. And so, like, I kind of want to go out of my way to be the opposite, to be an example of someone who's doing the opposite. You know, be the change you want to see in the world.
See, it's interesting because like I had this discussion many times with my wife, and then she has brought to my attention the fact that, because I tell her, like, look, I feel that the scales are tipping too much in one side because people are trying to overcompensate for it, which is what you're bringing to the table. It's like I want to actively do the opposite in order to overcompensate. And she has brought that point to me several times, and I see it. I just do not agree with it because I feel that I like to lead by example. Like I feel that my contribution to that is the fact that gender doesn't really mean anything to me. Like if I have to interview a bunch of people, the fact that they're male or female should not even factor into my decision, or into the fact like I see a name and I interview the person, but it doesn't. I don't go like, oh, I should give it to a woman, because I believe that if that is the future that I want, in which it doesn't matter, then exercising the fact that it doesn't matter is my way to contribute to that future. But I do understand the necessity.
But if you feel like it doesn't matter, and then you hire nothing but guys, someone on the outside doesn't see that you were casting.
Correct.
Gender blind.
I completely.
They see that you cast.
I completely
right?
understand.
Like, people don't know why they're rejected, and we're not in that point in society where it's even close to even.
Correct.
Like you say, the scales are tipping, but they're kind of not. It's still vastly male dominated.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And
it is, and it will still be for a time.
And you know, a lot of it is this sort of like, men do have a machismo.
They do.
Where like something to do with testosterone, where when you want something, you like do everything you can to get it, and like it's very, that competitive energy comes out. And you know, women who have that same amount are a little bit more rare. And I don't think that they should have to turn themselves into a man to do it, to get the job. You know,
that's an interesting.
Like, women are different, and that difference is good. It's interesting.
Should be an asset.
It's
should be acknowledged as an asset.
And I always love sets that have men and women. They're more pleasant.
Yes,
they're better.
Like, you know, you're a woman in film, so with that.
No, but yeah, it's. I still feel it's hard sometimes, and of course there are some men producers who hire women, and that's great. And I've recently, so this year I worked a lot as a gaffer, and that's another position where I've often been told like, oh, you're the first female gaffer I work with.
Interesting.
And there are, I'm sure there are a lot of them, but like, and there are people who worked in many productions. It's not like they've done just a couple. So I was very happy when actually the producer introduced me to the DP, who was a male, Josh Mackey, who is an amazing director of photography. And I was really scared when he called me, because I thought, oh, first of all, I was very happy that he called me, because sometimes there isn't even a phone call. And then he was very, very nice, and then we talked about his style, and then how I can help with it, and it was great. But otherwise, I've been working with female director of photo, DP, and also gaffed for Valentina Caniglia recently, who's also an aspiring. She's done a lot of movies already, and she has, I don't know how many years of experience now, and she told me I was the first female gaffer. and it's great, but it's also sad in another way.
Yeah.
But so
That like, what
There's-
year is it?
yeah,
Like when was
like-
that?
yeah.
Mhm.
When did that happen?
And so I'm really grateful for the people who who gave me a chance, and I think that it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female to do any positions, as long as that's the project talks to you, and then you're open-minded to.
Yeah.
If you
You
don't
know-
know something, like ask. If I don't know something about a
Yeah.
male reaction.
And I like, I don't want to put a sentiment that puts me out of a job. I mean, everybody wants an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, I want to work just as much as you do. And that mentality makes things competitive. And so you always just kind of have to represent yourself as best you can.
Yeah.
You know, where possible, if someone, like, we work on a lot of really low budget projects, really small projects, and so I don't often have the opportunity to choose from people who are really experienced.
Mhm.
It's like very minor
Yeah.
experience.
Correct.
So, like, if they've got stuff to look at, like, I'll look at it, and like sometimes you do have to go with
So would you
the
hire?
person that looks better.
Yeah, but would you hire a male makeup artist? If you if
I
all your friends
would, but I'll
were-
be honest with you, I would probably want to see
Oh yeah, I know. Of
their
course.
work beforehand.
Of course.
Where, and that's a little bit of a double standard, because a female makeup artist I'll probably just take.
Really?
Without like.
Without
without-
looking her.
I mean, usually it's recommendations,
Yeah.
and I will.
No, but it's a
I
matter
will
of
honestly. I'll
perception.
generally take, if they're recommended, I'll probably take them regardless.
Like, I understand. I don't hold that against you. I mean, it's just a matter of perception. Like, we're still too close to that reality to be able to say, oh, I'm completely away from it. I don't have no prejudice, because there is some prejudice. Like, whenever, like as I told you, like, I've never made a distinction when I have to hire or I have to collaborate with somebody, but it does register. Or maybe the producer comes and says, like, here's this amount of DPs, and then this is a girl, and he mentions it. He makes a point out of it, and then and I don't see it as something chauvinistic or anything like that. He just feels that it's important for me to acknowledge the fact that this is out of the ordinary, and it doesn't affect my choosing process, but it is brought to my attention. And of course, the dynamic is different, because like it's like the way that you can relate to the person, the way the kind of like camaraderie between a man and a woman. Then maybe the way that I am with him as a friend, and maybe I cannot be with you because it could be inappropriate, or it could be or it could be interpreted in a different way. And then you need to shift a little the way that you do.
With everybody,
Exactly,
but-
different that you, because what could be considered with a friend just joking could be considered with a woman like flirting. And then if she gets it like that, then she might shut down and go like, I'm uncomfortable with this, opposite to if I'm working with a man, he will never be uncomfortable with that. But the same way that you were mentioning, like this movie, you were mentioning this movie about lesbians that was directed by a man. And then I feel that art in general benefits from either the possibility of relating to it and the possibility of not relating to it. Like I would like if you have a film about lesbians, let's make it with a lesbian director, let's make it with a straight woman director, let's make it with a gay director, a man, or let's make it with a straight man director, and let's see what does the piece wins by the relation or the complete disconnection with that
interesting.
reality.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I think everybody hopefully is able to have empathy for even things that.
I hope
They're
that if
not.
you're going into filmmaking, if you're going into directing, that you do have empathy,
Yeah.
because I think it's it's probably the most valuable asset you have. Same with acting, it is empathizing,
On that note,
Hold
we're
on.
running out of time.
We can go a little bit.
Let's
Let's
explore a little
No,
bit
Because it was-
more.
we worked together for.
Exactly. And you were directing, and I was. It was a complete reverse of roles. You were the director. I was the DP.
But it's no big deal about
Yeah.
it.
It didn't.
One thing I
you
wanted
know,
to say
didn't
about
feel
like a balanced
different.
set kind of touches on what you're talking about. Like, if there's one female on set and a bunch of guys, they're gonna feel that like I'm the odd person out,
Mhm.
And like I found that like on more balanced sets, people are just kind of in general more careful and better with each other. Like sets that have a lot of guys, they do like chauvinism occurs is more common to occur if there's more. Whereas, yeah.
So that's I have an example of that as like G&E is usually represented by men. Is a
Very
male crew. In Germany, there was a rule made that in every technical field, like such as G&E, they had to be a woman in the team, at least one woman in the team, because apparently the men were behaving better if there was one woman, whereas when there was only men,
I've seen it.
They were a little bit crazy in terms of like they were behaving better.
Yeah.
And that was better for the work.
Yeah, and I think it when you have, especially if you have like on your creative team, a little bit more diversity, it just gives you more angles that you can look at a project from. You know, like if you have 3 sets of the same people with same background looking at something, they're not going to bring like a new angle to the project.
Yes.
You know, a woman, like if I'm writing a script, I want men and women to look at it. You know, because they'll tell me different things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just based on that.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this doesn't happen enough. You want both sets of eyes on it. I just think the more kinds of people you have looking at a project, the stronger the project's going to be.
Yeah, it's beneficial for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like, you know, I think men should be on sets too. I'm not saying that, you know, we should get out of the industry or anything.
Get rid of
I
the
just
men.
think that a balanced set runs better. I think it just tends to be more efficient. It tends to have a better mood.
Yeah.
It's just like a friendlier atmosphere kind of naturally occurs that way.
I mean, if you want to see it
Men and women
from
are
the business
complementary.
perspective, exactly. Even if it's from a business perspective, like what you're saying, if what you're saying is a reality, having a mixed set will actually make things better. Then you don't make a law out of the sense of equality. You make a law out of the sense of economy and saying like this actually will get the company more for a buck to do this diversity because it works as a team better.
When it comes to film, some people only care about the final product. And there's some logic there. When I direct or when I'm just on a set, I care about the atmosphere of the set. You're working there, you're living there.
Yes.
Like, I want a good atmosphere. When I'm directing, having a good atmosphere is like one of the most important things. I really worry about if anybody's having just a really crappy time. Because they won't work as hard. They won't be as on board. Like, you save yourself a lot of trouble if everybody's happy. And I think that that's something that helps.
It reflects.
Okay. On that note, I just want to promote one film that I worked on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In May, This Is Nowhere was produced by Heidi Philipsen, and also it was directed, funny because it was directed by a male and a female. So Heidi Philipsen was the co-director with John Russell Cringe, and the DP was his wife, Tracy, who I love. We are in the post-production process right now.
Do you know where it's going to go?
So check Seed and Spark.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link at the bottom to Seed and Spark.
I'm just throwing this out because if I'm not wrong, all the head departments were run by females. And just if you're interested in this kind of production team and stuff and seeing the result, check that out.
Check it out. Go to Seed and Spark. Check out, what was the name again?
This Is Nowhere.
This Is Nowhere.
I bet you that since the moment she started speaking, there's a banner down there with all that information.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yes.
All right. If you liked this episode, let us know. Let us know your thoughts on these topics. I'm
Yes.
kind of curious what our viewers think. I think we have a pretty liberal audience when it comes to social
I feel so
matters.
too. I feel so too.
But so if you agree, let us know. And if you disagree, let us know why.
Yes.
And like we didn't fully agree on everything. And there's always room for debate. So be polite if you debate with each other. Spread the love. Share the episode. Like us. Subscribe on Facebook. And you can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at John in Paradox.
I am at Caroline Mariko.
And I am at Jose in Paradox. And as John said, let us know. Let us know because it will make the show better. It will give us the opportunity to give you more of what you want and to tailor more, the things that you want to listen to in the show and the things that you want us to do. And, in that note, friends from the future, visible friends from the future, will say bye from the past.
Adios.